The setup: humanity and the Lyrans on the brink of war. Humanity had always hungered for the stars. The vastness of space promised endless resources, new worlds, and possibilities beyond Earth's boundaries. Driven by expansion, humanity pushed deeper and deeper into the unknown, claiming territories and thriving on uncharted planets. But with this ambition came inevitable conflict. In their search for resources, humans encountered the Lyrans, an alien species of striking appearance and fearsome capability. The Lyrans were unlike any race humanity had encountered before. Tall, imposing, with advanced technology, and a warrior-like society, steeped in tradition. The two species found themselves at odds over Nyx, a barren yet precious desert world. Rich in rare minerals and vital resources, Nyx had become the center of both sides' ambitions. Humanity saw Nyx as an essential foothold, another milestone in their galactic conquest, while the Lyrans considered it sacred, a place tied to their ancestral heritage. Initial attempts at negotiations faltered as distrust simmered on both sides. Skirmishes broke out, and soon, all signs pointed toward an all-out war for control of the planet. The balance of power rested on a knife's edge, with each faction waiting for a single spark to ignite the conflict. Amid this growing tension stood Captain Leo Moretti, a seasoned human officer assigned to oversee Earth's forces on Nyx. Unlike many of his superiors, who believed a decisive show of strength was the only way to deal with the Lyrans, Moretti had a different view. Known for his tactical brilliance and diplomatic leanings, he saw the potential for peaceful coexistence, even here on this desolate, hostile world. Moretti understood the horrors of war and saw the futility in spilling blood over resources that, one day, would run dry. To him, diplomacy was a chance to avoid needless conflict and forge an alliance that could shape the future of both species. On the Lyran side was Vera, a towering figure both in stature and reputation. Standing over 8 feet tall, Vera was respected and feared among her people. Chosen as a diplomat, she embodied the Lyran virtues of strength, wisdom, and loyalty to her species' traditions. Tasked with managing humanity's demands, Vera approached her role with pride, but was wary. Her society viewed the humans with suspicion, and her mission was seen by some as a mere formality, a tactic to delay human advancement rather than a genuine path to peace. As tensions escalated, Moretti learned of an ancient Lyran custom, a bonding ceremony designed to unite two individuals from different backgrounds. This ritual allowed participants to create a psychic link, a bridge of emotions, thoughts, and memories. It had rarely been performed in Lyran history, reserved for moments of great importance, and was held in the highest regard. Moretti saw in it a chance for understanding, a way to bridge the divide. He volunteered to take part in the ceremony, hoping that such a profound connection with Vera could prove humanity's sincerity and foster an alliance. Yet skepticism loomed. Moretti's superiors saw the ceremony as an unnecessary risk, doubting the Lyran's intentions and questioning his judgment. They viewed his choice as reckless, a liability in the middle of a tense standoff. Meanwhile, among the Lyrans, some considered the bond a sacrilege, an affront to their culture, and a disgraceful dilution of their traditions. Despite these doubts, Moretti was undeterred. He was willing to take the personal risk, believing that this bond could be the key to peace and perhaps the only way to avoid a devastating war. The bonding ceremony, sharing thoughts, emotions, and memories. Under the searing sun of Nyx's desert, the bonding ceremony begins. The site is a secluded oasis of towering sandstone pillars and ancient carvings, chosen by the Lyrans to honor their ancestors. Captain Leo Moretti and Vera, the Lyran diplomat, are both dressed in ceremonial attire. Moretti in a robe bearing the insignias of Earth's colonies, and Vera in dark, flowing robes marked with intricate patterns representing her people's storied history. A Lyran elder presides over the ritual, speaking in a low, resonant voice as he begins the chant that will guide them into the psychic bond. Both Moretti and Vera sit opposite each other, their eyes closed, their breathing synchronized. They are instructed to empty their minds and focus solely on the other's presence, tuning out the world around them. The elders' chant reverberates through the air, and slowly, they feel their consciousnesses begin to intertwine. Initially, a deep discomfort gnaws at both of them. The psychic connection is foreign, invasive, and unsettling. For the first time, they feel the other's mind pressing against their own, a force that is both intimate and disorienting. As the bond strengthens, they each encounter resistance. Moretti feels Vera's intense pride and duty, conflicting with his own doubts about war and violence. Vera is overwhelmed by the unfamiliar flood of human memories, emotions, and thoughts, and struggles to reconcile these experiences with her deeply ingrained views. They can sense each other's judgments and preconceptions, creating a clash that neither expected. Moretti perceives Vera's hesitation to trust, her ingrained fear of humanity's relentless expansion, and her people's suspicion of humans as aggressors. Similarly, Vera is confronted with Moretti's determination, his loyalty to his people, and the contradictions in his heart about the necessity of war. As their minds adjust, they begin to catch fleeting glimpses of each other's lives. Moretti is transported to Vera's childhood memories on the Lyran homeworld, witnessing the rigorous training she endured, the honor of her warrior lineage, and the pride she feels in her culture. He realizes her strength is born from survival, not aggression. Her people's fear of humanity, he understands, is rooted in a history of conflict and loss. Meanwhile, Vera delves into Moretti's past, seeing memories of his family, of the friends he lost in battles on distant planets, and of the quiet moments where he questioned the endless cycle of conquest and bloodshed. She perceives his genuine yearning for peace and the sadness beneath his hardened exterior. Gradually, the tension softens, and an emotional breakthrough occurs. The bond pulls them closer, peeling away the layers of prejudice and suspicion that have kept their species divided. For the first time, Moretti sees the Lyrans not as faceless adversaries, but as beings with dreams, fears, and vulnerabilities. Vera, too, sees past her people's distorted view of humanity, recognizing in Moretti a depth of compassion and restraint her culture never acknowledged in humans. But this connection reveals more than empathy. Together, they begin to unravel unsettling truths, memories of manipulated narratives and propaganda on both sides. Moretti's military leaders have exaggerated Lyran hostility to justify a full-scale invasion, while Vera realizes her own people have similarly distorted humanity's motives. They see that both factions have used fear to fuel conflict and to mask their true desire: dominion over the resources of Nyx. The bond, intended to promote peace, becomes a weapon of truth, exposing the lies that bind their species to war. The betrayal, hunted by their own people. The news of the successful bond between Captain Moretti and Vera quickly spreads through both human and Lyran ranks. But rather than fostering hope for peace, it ignites fear among their leaders. The psychic link is seen as a destabilizing force, a dangerous connection that could expose secrets, shift loyalties, and threaten the authority of those who thrive on the conflict. In the human camp, Moretti's commanders view the bond with suspicion, labeling him compromised by alien influence. They accuse him of betraying his duty, claiming he's been tainted by Lyran ideology. Among the Lyrans, Vera is condemned as a corrupter of tradition, accused of diluting their sacred customs by bonding with a human. Neither side can accept this bridge they've built, fearing it undermines the foundation of the war. With tension rising, both human and Lyran authorities come to the same conclusion: the bond must be severed. Orders are issued to capture Moretti and Vera at all costs. Suddenly, the allies they thought they could trust turn against them, and both find themselves branded as traitors, hunted by their own people. Forced to go on the run, they retreat into the desolate landscape of Nyx's unforgiving desert, where the red sands stretch endlessly, offering both concealment and peril. Pursued by human soldiers and Lyran warriors, they must rely on their combined skills and their unique bond to evade capture. As they struggle to survive, Moretti and Vera encounter sympathetic individuals from both factions who have also begun to question the war. Disillusioned soldiers and warriors who have grown weary of the bloodshed start to join them, defectors willing to risk everything for the possibility of peace. Each brings their own story of disillusionment, of lost friends, and of leaders who seem more interested in power than in protecting their people. Together, this small group of humans and Lyrans forms a fragile but determined resistance unit. Their goal: to spread the truth about the war and expose the deception at the heart of their leaders' propaganda. The journey is perilous, and every day brings new challenges. The desert itself becomes both ally and adversary, as they move from one hiding spot to the next, navigating the treacherous sands and cliffs of Nyx. Constantly on edge, Moretti and Vera rely on their bond to sense each other's thoughts and instincts, developing an unbreakable trust. This connection guides them, allowing them to anticipate ambushes, decode encrypted messages, and make split-second decisions to outmaneuver their relentless pursuers. Their bond grows deeper, evolving from a bridge of empathy into something more profound, a closeness that neither of them can ignore. The line between duty, friendship, and love begins to blur as they recognize the unique, irreplaceable role they've come to hold in each other's lives. During their flight, they uncover a disturbing truth. Through conversations with defectors and their own investigations, they discover that the resource both sides are fighting over on Nyx is, in fact, finite and far less valuable than they were led to believe. The justification for the war, they realize, has been built on lies. Their governments have exaggerated the importance of Nyx, using the planet as an excuse to expand, tighten control, and maintain power over their own people. This revelation cements their resolve. They cannot allow this war to continue on false pretenses. Now, hunted and isolated, Moretti, Vera, and their ragtag group of defectors set their sights on a new mission: to reveal the truth to both their worlds, no matter the cost. The showdown and resolution, risking it all for peace. With their small band of allies, Moretti and Vera devise a bold plan to end the conflict once and for all. They know that to shatter the propaganda machine fueling this war, they must expose the lies that have been fed to both humans and Lyrans. Their goal is to infiltrate the heavily guarded communication hubs at each faction's military base on Nyx. By broadcasting evidence of the deception, they hope to reveal the leaders' hidden motives and the reality of the finite resources on the planet, sparking a wave of dissent and doubt among the troops. The journey to these hubs is treacherous, with danger lurking around every corner. Moving under the cover of darkness, the group evades patrols, using every trick they've learned to stay undetected. But as they draw closer, tensions mount, and they face a series of close encounters with soldiers from both sides. Moretti and Vera are forced to fight side by side in desperate skirmishes, their bond allowing them to anticipate each other's movements and counter enemy attacks with near-synchronized precision. The connection they share is their greatest asset, each relying on the other's instincts to survive as they inch closer to the heart of their enemy's strongholds. Finally, they arrive at the communication hubs, their mission nearing its peak. They break through the last line of defenses, but not without suffering losses among their small band of allies. Despite the casualties, they push forward, driven by their unwavering commitment to the truth. In a tense and hurried operation, they access the systems, bypassing security protocols with the help of their tech-savvy defectors. As they establish the broadcast link, Moretti and Vera stand together, knowing this transmission is their only hope to end the bloodshed. The broadcast begins, sending waves of information and images across both human and Lyran channels. Soldiers and civilians alike watch in shock as images and documents appear on their screens, exposing the leaders' lies about the resources on Nyx. They see proof that both governments exaggerated the planet's importance, manipulating their people's fear to justify a costly and pointless war. The broadcast triggers outrage and disillusionment, rippling through the ranks of both armies. Soldiers, who now understand the truth, begin to question their orders. Many start abandoning their posts, unwilling to continue fighting for a cause built on deceit. The aftermath is immediate and profound. Moretti and Vera's bold action fractures both societies, sparking a wave of demands for peace. As negotiations begin, both sides are forced to confront the betrayal by their leaders. The bond between Moretti and Vera becomes a symbol of what humanity and the Lyrans could achieve together. A future where understanding and empathy replace fear and mistrust. Their courage and connection inspire a movement that calls for transparency, accountability, and lasting peace. In the end, Moretti and Vera must decide whether to remain together as ambassadors of peace or part ways, each returning to rebuild their respective societies. Whether they choose to stay united or go their separate ways, their legacy endures. They have shown that even the deepest divides can be bridged, that fear and prejudice can be overcome by those willing to seek understanding. Their bond has changed the course of history, proving that empathy, not fear, is the key to a lasting alliance between their peoples.